So Paddy the Baddy just got beat. Paddy the Baddy, as a matter of fact, got submitted. Do you guys even know what I'm talking about? So there's something that goes on in England. This is Paddy's gym. Paddy enters this thing every year. It's called something. And then they have a king of the mat. It's a grappling tournament, but they have this thing, this king of the mat. Paddy was in the finals a year ago, and after an hour, they just stopped the match and called it a draw. So he was a co-champion. So whatever this thing is, it's a thing that matters to him. So he enters it, I guess, over the weekend. I guess. And he ends up getting beat.
Gaethje, Paddy, what do you think it looks like?
Oh man, more skilled, more experienced, I think better fighter all around, Justin Gaethje. But I also have been on record and said that Paddy Pimblett is better than a lot of people think he is. You know, because of his haircut and the way he talks, and when I fought him, he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. He's got long reach, good kicks, pretty darn patient and composed in there, but Gaethje's a whole different animal. So if I had to bet, I'd go Justin Gaethje, interim champion, and then he beats Ilia Topuria later on this year.
I don't think that's true, dude. He's actually changed his style so much, and his stats are kind of misleading. Like, if you look at his significant strike numbers, dude, it kind of like Max Holloway. Like, you can't statistically prove that Max Holloway's defense has improved or whatever it is, or that he's more technical, but you can see it when you rewatch his recent fights. Justin Gaethje's the same, dude. Like, his defense used to be fucking abysmal. He would just walk through you, but now he actually has shown improvements in his defense. He was making Dustin Poirier miss a lot in their fight, really frustrated him with his footwork, with his head movement. Had some good moments against Max Holloway, dropped him for the first time. He's sharpened up his technique. He has a really nice jab. Like I said, his defense is a very underrated part of his game. He has good footwork. He feints. He mixes things up between the body and the head. I think that'll work well against Paddy Pimblett, who's super focused on, I need to have my hands up, I need to do this, or his hands are down really low. They're both open, depending on the feints and the setups that you use to capitalize really, really effectively on Paddy Pimblett in the striking. We've seen it.
Fiziev was short notice in this one, coming off an injury, and he, you know, it is what it is. But another thing about Gaethje I want to bring up too is recently in his career, he's kind of just sort of started to wrestle a little bit more. This no wrestling thing that he did have going on for a long time, he's kind of abandoned it, which I think is good. I know that Paddy Pimblett's grappling is really elite, and if Gaethje tries to take him down, it probably would be a mistake, but that tells me the wrestling is something that he's still got in his back pocket, something that he can use to keep the fight on the feet, keep the fight standing. And I think that when the fight is standing, yes, Pimblett looks so good against Chandler. I think Chandler just sucks, I'll be honest. I think I was wrong about Chandler. I think that's also part of it too. I think Gaethje goes out there and beats Paddy Pimblett, man. I think he's a much better striker out of the two. We've seen him go 5 rounds. We saw him go 5 rounds against Holloway. I know that he got knocked out in the last second of that fight, and you know, it did kind of suck for that. I actually think I picked Holloway to beat him, though. I can't actually remember. But anyway, it did kind of suck for Gaethje for that to have happened. But, you know, it did kind of create a viral moment that people are still trying to recreate to this day.
So here's the deal. Paddy Pimblett, the guy they call the baddie, is walking straight into what might be the most career-defining moment he's ever faced. And who's waiting for him? Justin Gaethje, a fighter who basically exists to create absolute mayhem inside that cage. What makes this whole thing so fascinating? These two couldn't fight more differently if they tried, and their recent trajectories are going in opposite directions. The fan base is split right down the middle on this one. This isn't about popularity contests or follower counts anymore. This is Paddy's ultimate proving ground, where it's all about survival and showing what he's really made of.
You know, for other guys. But I know Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje is a very competitive fight. It's going to be an exciting fight. And I'm not saying other fights not going to be exciting, you know, but at the end of the day, we know Paddy and Justin Gaethje is going to be a complete firework. There's no way in hell this fight will go 5 rounds. There's no way, you know.
Are you surprised that Justin opened as like a plus 200 underdog? I think it's already starting to flip a little bit.
It's no problem. He was underdog was Tony Ferguson too. What happened? You know, he was underdog was Dustin Poirier second time. What happened? You know, it's okay. You can doubt Justin, but I'm gonna tell you something. If Justin fights in Chelsea, he's gonna make it sleep. I respect Pimblett. I think he's very underrated. I think a lot of people talk shit about him, but I was like, the guy never lost in the UFC. How are you gonna talk shit about him? But I think if Justin Gaethje, touch his chin, he's gonna make him go to sleep. But vice versa too. He have very good grappling. It's a very intriguing match.
The MMA world is going absolutely wild with predictions before this massive showdown drops. Let's start with Chael Sonnen, who dropped some serious insight that went way beyond just talking about Paddy's recent grappling loss. Chael dug deeper, saying this loss actually exposed something fundamental about who Paddy is mentally as he gears up to face a destroyer like Justin Gaethje. What really caught Chael's attention was how Paddy, right in the middle of what had to be a brutal fight camp, still decided to compete in a local grappling tournament at his own gym. Picture this, a hometown event that clearly meant something personal to him. Chael emphasized how despite all the pressure and the real possibility of getting hurt or losing, Paddy showed up anyway, gave everything he had, and owned the result whether he won or lost. He didn't back down from that risk. He ran straight at it. Chael put it simply, so Paddy the Baddy just got beat, but there was this deeper message about never giving up.
Paddy the Baddy, as a matter of fact, got submitted. Do you guys even know what I'm talking about? So there's something that goes on in England. This is Paddy's gym. Paddy enters this thing every year. It's called something. And then they have a king of the mat. It's a grappling tournament, but they have this thing, this king of the mat. Paddy was in the finals a year ago, and after an hour, they just stopped the match and called it a draw. So he was a co-champion. So whatever this thing is, it's a thing that matters to him. So he enters it, I guess, over the weekend. I guess. And
taking that breakdown even further, Chael then brilliantly tied this exact mentality straight to the upcoming war with Justin Gaethje. His perspective was that real fighters, especially ones with Paddy's relentless spirit, don't operate by protecting some carefully crafted public image like we see with athletes in other mainstream sports. These warriors voluntarily walk into brutal high-stakes scenarios even when there's literally nothing concrete to gain. No belt, no huge payday, just pure pride on the line. And Chael made it absolutely clear why this mindset isn't just respectable, but completely essential when you're getting ready to battle a pure force like Justin Gaethje. Justin doesn't just fight under pressure, he absolutely loves it, using it as rocket fuel. And like Chael put it perfectly, there's no way you can effectively handle a non-stop pressure cooker like Gaethje if you're carrying even the smallest fear of losing deep inside. That fear will get found and punished.
now, one of the reasons it's so cool is I don't think you have heard about it. One of the reasons I think it's so cool is there's no other sport where this would happen. One of the reasons I think it's so cool is it doesn't matter. And that's one cool thing about our community. Like if a guy like Paddy wants to go out there and take a risk and do something like this, he can chalk that up to a tremendous victory. He can also chalk that up to a workout. And you know what? We need to keep it that way. It's one thing that we have done very well as a group, and there's no others.
Chael also strongly challenged the common mistake of thinking that taking a loss outside official competition, especially in grappling, automatically means you're weak. He broke it down clearly, explaining that this type of competition doesn't touch your official MMA record, so there's no damage in that traditional way. What it absolutely does reveal, he insisted, is genuine hunger, a real internal drive to compete and get better no matter what's actually at stake. In Chael's view, Paddy's mature response to that recent grappling defeat, where he basically treated it like another day of hard work and a chance to learn instead of getting embarrassed or trying to hide it, showed something vital. It demonstrated the type of fighter who has the rock-solid mental strength and pure determination to keep moving forward. Chin up, straight into battle against someone as intimidating as Justin Gaethje, rather than choking under massive pressure, or even worse, trying to play things safe. This goes beyond just physical toughness. It's about the mind games that happen before anyone even throws a punch.
That LeBron drops in for a one-on-one with the college star. He just couldn't take the risk. He just simply could not take the risk. This happened when I was a kid. It was to John McEnroe in Oregon. This was before the internet was a thing, but John McEnroe came out and he played somebody. We had some high school star down in, it was down in Eastern Oregon. I want to say maybe Pendleton. At any rate, the guy beat him. Our high school star beat McEnroe, and this was a thing. This was a thing. But it's one of these reasons why you can't ever get that. Like, you are left to believe that the NBA is better than the NCAA. You're led to believe the NFL is better than college football. I'm sure you're right, but there's exceptions, and there's certain positions at certain times where there are exceptions. You will never know.
Now let's shift gears to something that completely took over fight news for a while. The legendary Ariel Helwani directly addressed Justin Gaethje's injury speculation. Ariel made it perfectly clear that the questionable videos and photos making rounds online had the entire MMA world talking, mainly because the timing seemed so incredibly suspicious, almost like it was planned. Consider this, right when the fight promotion should have been completely smooth, totally free from any drama, suddenly this cloud of doubt aggressively appeared. And Helwani stressed that just this simple hint of uncertainty has enough power to drastically change how fans see the whole matchup with Paddy. He then really dove into just how frustratingly vague the entire situation actually was. Ariel carefully focused on how genuinely strange and honestly troubling the images appeared, and thoroughly explaining why fans definitely weren't losing their minds for questioning if they were real or what they meant. The main problem, he explained, wasn't just what Justin or his team claimed the injury was, it was how visually alarming it looked to everyone, and maybe more importantly, how incredibly fast those images blew up across social media. That level of serious uncertainty, Helwani wrapped up, absolutely looms over a major fight like storm clouds, completely changing the whole vibe and energy as we approach what should be thrilling fight week.
Rumors have been swirling that Justin Gaethje is injured. A few videos have surfaced of him diving and cracking heads with someone which wobbled him bad. Do you have any inside information? Have you not heard of this? Okay, actually, I got to be honest. I thought you guys were talking about, I thought he was going to ask about, I saw a bunch of pictures about this thing.
Though, right?
Yeah, the ingrown hair is what he's claiming.
Okay. Right.
Ingrown hair and a bit of brisket, yeah.
Brisket?
Yeah, a little brisket on the chin.
Because they said he had herpes on his mouth. He's like, I was eating brisket and I had an ingrown hair.
If that is an ingrown hair, that's the gnarliest ingrown hair I've ever seen. That makes like a little red dot on your neck if it's an ingrown hair. He had a crater in his neck. I don't know about
By the way, could you imagine, just for a moment, you know where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this?
I do know exactly where you're going.
Enter Armin.
Yes.
Enter Armin.
Yes, it's time. Now, is Armin ready?
Moving forward, the always honest Artem Lobov jumped in, and he started by confessing something important. He's underestimated Paddy Pimblett before, and honestly, he's been burned for it, getting those calls completely wrong. But even knowing that personal track record and experience, Artem admitted that he just couldn't shake the exact same nagging issues he keeps spotting in Paddy's fights. For Lobov, Paddy's performances consistently show these worrying stretches where his cardio clearly drops off, opening up dangerous windows, and trust me, that becomes a seriously risky game when you're dealing with someone who maintains absolutely relentless, non-stop intensity like Justin. But the biggest, most obvious red flag Artem zeroed in on was Paddy's defensive gaps. He highlighted a clear danger. Paddy still regularly keeps his chin up there, basically giving opponents regular opportunities to connect with devastatingly clean shots. Now that type of high-risk, high-reward approach can work magic when you're fighting guys who either hesitate to pull the trigger or just fall apart as rounds go by. But here's the reality check. Justin Gaethje absolutely does not fade, and he definitely doesn't whiff often when he finds his target. Artem made it totally clear that while it's fun and thrilling to appreciate Paddy's wild, anything can happen fighting approach, that's completely different from actually believing it will survive against a proven world-class striker like Gaethje.
If it even happens. And now we've got Gaethje fighting Pimblett for the vacant title. And I know I've just picked favorites the entire card. And I know that is kind of probably not that all that exciting for you guys. I am picking Gaethje to beat Paddy Pimblett in this fight. I've been proven wrong by Paddy Pimblett so many times. Over and over and over and over again. If you guys remember, I picked Tony Ferguson to beat Paddy Pimblett in that fight, and I will be honest with you guys, there was a moment there in that third round where it looked like maybe Ferguson was going to get something going because Pimblett did gas out pretty bad in that fight, but that is just cope on my end. And then even then, I picked Michael Chandler to beat him too. Have I ever been more wrong about a fight? Probably not, to be honest with you, but he looked really, really good. The problem with me and Paddy Pimblett, dude, is there's two things that he's just never fixed. His cardio and his striking defense. He still keeps his chin way up in the air. I know that's why people love him. I know people love Paddy Pimblett because of that. The problem is, though, I just don't like seeing that and then trying to justify picking him to beat Justin Gaethje, who just beat Rafael Fiziev a couple of times in the last few years. Now, I know that
Artem didn't stop there. Artem also explored a really key element of this fight: Justin Gaethje's massive evolution and development as a complete fighter through the years. Lobov specifically mentioned that Justin is no longer just the relentlessly stubborn brawler who was totally dedicated to standing and throwing bombs exclusively, a label he once wore with pride. What's really important here is this: even if Gaethje has zero interest in actively pursuing a wrestling match with Paddy, the pure threat of his championship-level wrestling foundation and takedown skills is always undeniably there. And that threat, that unspoken chance of a takedown, becomes an extremely valuable tactical weapon by itself. It's what allows Justin to actively dictate exactly where the action happens, calling the shots on engagement. Artem strongly believed that keeping things standing, maintaining that striking war, is absolutely critical to victory for Gaethje in this specific fight. And because of his significant evolution and polish as a mixed martial artist, Justin now has an even bigger toolbox of sophisticated techniques to successfully make that happen, keeping the fight exactly where he wants it.
Fiziev was short notice in this one, coming off an injury, and he, it is what it is. But another thing about Gaethje I want to bring up too is recently in his career, he's kind of just sort of started to wrestle a little bit more. This no wrestling thing that he did have going on for a long time, he's kind of abandoned it, which I think is good. I know that Paddy Pimblett's grappling is really elite, and if Gaethje tries to take him down, it probably would be a mistake, but that tells me the wrestling is something that he's still got in his back pocket, something that he can use to keep the fight on the feet, keep the fight standing. And I think that when the fight is standing, yes, Pimblett looks so good against Chandler. I think Chandler just sucks, I'll be honest. I think I was wrong about Chandler. I think that's also part of it too. I think Gaethje goes out there and beats Paddy Pimblett, man. I think he's
shifting. The breakdown from Bedtime MMA brought yet another vital angle, breaking down in detail that Paddy Pimblett, despite his grappling talents, isn't really a traditional elite wrestler who regularly hunts for those picture-perfect clean takedowns. No, Paddy's method is way more unconventional and honestly dependent on raw, pure chaos, the tactical deployment of powerful kicks and a supernatural ability to transform any brief opening into an unpredictable ground scramble. And here's the vital point: against a certified specialist like Justin Gaethje, that kind of scramble-heavy opportunistic strategy becomes extremely risky, because Justin's takedown defense isn't just solid, it's famous for being exceptionally strong and technically perfect, more than ready to easily stuff any kind of messy, poorly timed or panicked attempts, successfully keeping the action precisely where he wants it, standing up. In his striking world, this means Paddy won't get those simple entries he might discover against weaker competition, pushing him to stand and bang.
To me, it's really important to just look at these two stylistically. Paddy Pimblett is not a wrestler, bro. Like, Paddy Pimblett is not a wrestler. Justin Gaethje's a better striker. He has good takedown defense, and he has great power. That is my theory here, right? Because when you look at the way that these guys fight, Paddy Pimblett fights a lot behind kicks, dude. He's throwing oblique kicks, calf kicks, head kicks, body kicks, jumping, kind of, switching up in the air, throwing those kicks. He has improved his boxing. That was a big weakness in the Jared Gordon. Continue.
Building on that detailed analysis, Bedtime MMA also explained why Justin Gaethje presents such a nightmare matchup, emphasizing that Justin is absolutely no longer the wild brawler he might have been seen as previously. He strongly rejected the outdated notion that Gaethje is just some crazy, headhunting slugger, describing instead that Justin now uses a refined collection of feints, calculated footwork, and smart defense to systematically make opponents whiff. And why does this matter so much against Paddy? Because, as we've witnessed, Paddy still gets tagged clean way more than a top fighter should, and throughout a grueling battle, those clean building shots can definitely pile up and cause serious damage. When Bedtime MMA carefully outlined the possible paths to victory for both guys, his preference became crystal clear. Paddy's best shot at winning depends on creating immediate KOs, connecting with something big to damage Justin, and then rapidly turning that moment into a quick sneaky submission. But he warned that if that specific situation doesn't happen fast, the fight will almost definitely remain standing, where Justin has a clear edge. In that very likely scenario, Bedtime MMA thinks that Gaethje will systematically, maybe even brutally, dismantle Paddy, possibly getting a finish in the middle round. That's why, despite openly saying he wants Paddy to succeed, he sadly leans toward Justin getting a TKO win. Moving to another viewpoint, the thoughts from Din Tam highlighted Paddy's obviously clever fighting approach and a really solid, well-rounded skill collection. He particularly noted Paddy's amazing readiness to fight effectively from his back when grounded, showing his danger there, and his excellent utilization of his reach with punishing kicks. Dintam thinks Paddy has displayed incredible growth in the loaded lightweight scene, showing real intelligence in how he creates his offensive opportunities, making him a genuine and active threat, especially if he can successfully weather and survive Justin's notoriously devastating early assault. But Dintam also clarified, with brutal honesty, that Justin brings an almost unmatched level of violence and pure force to every single encounter. While recognizing Paddy's abilities, he suggested that Justin's explosive striking might just be overwhelming for him to deal with. Dintam feels that while Paddy's previous fights prove he can excel against specific opponents, Justin Gaethje competes on a totally different championship level. He strongly thinks that while Paddy definitely has the weapons to win, Justin's enormous experience combined with his crushing pressure will make it extremely hard for Paddy to take control. Then we got input from Mike Bones, whose opinion was that this fight isn't just likely to be action-packed, it's basically guaranteed to be a complete war from beginning to end. He favored Justin Gaethje, winning by constantly pushing forward, unleashing waves of strikes, and using his legendary fight-stopping leg kicks to gradually but steadily break Paddy down and seriously compromise his mobility. But Mike also smartly noted that Paddy's naturally dangerous, wild style creates an atmosphere of total chaos that can literally flip the fight his way at any second. And that chaos becomes especially threatening, a real momentum shifter if the action somehow lands on the mat even momentarily. Why? Because Paddy's Brazilian jiu-jitsu and his amazing scrambling skills are probably his greatest assets, and if Justin gets caught in that dangerous spot, Paddy has the incredible talent to completely reverse the entire fight instantly by discovering sneaky positions when Gaethje doesn't see them coming. Mike Bones finished his breakdown by highlighting the essential importance of Paddy's camp preparation. He passionately emphasized that Paddy absolutely can't treat this like any other regular training cycle. Justin's constant suffocating pressure is completely different, and Paddy must simulate and actually experience that crushing pace in training long before fight night. If he waits to try adapting to that intensity level inside the octagon, Mike cautions it could be too late, but if Paddy prepares exactly right, getting himself ready for that breakneck environment, he can push Justin into tough situations and really make the fight turn decisively his way. Finally, the always vocal manager Ali Abdelaziz called this a true 50-50 because both Paddy and Justin are forward-moving, pressure-fighting competitors. He pictures the second that bell sounds, they will literally collide in the cage center, and the tempo will be absolutely insane from second one. Ali stated without question that he sees zero possibility of this fight lasting all 5 rounds. He also mentioned Justin currently sitting as the betting underdog. Ali calmly reminded everyone that Justin has faced doubt many times and has repeatedly delivered with massive performances in the hardest fights possible, which is why he stays totally unbothered by the odds. He summed up the main dynamic: if Justin connects clean, Paddy is going down hard, but on the flip side, if the action somehow reaches the ground, Paddy can completely dominate with his elite level grappling. So everything suggests this fight will be lightning fast, incredibly violent, and very likely to end spectacularly before the final bell. Now it's time for you to weigh in. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who are you picking to win this epic battle? Are you going with Justin's incredible experience and devastating power, or are you backing Paddy's technical skills and undeniably intelligent strategy to score the upset?